seated.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here with Kirk Harrison, who's been asking me questions about living trusts and marital trusts and trusts for kids and trusts for pets. But now we're going to talk about the one of the last parts of the definition of proper estate planning, which is give what we have to whom we want, the way we want, and when we want.
It's funny you keep saying the name trust, and that's it. That's what it comes down to. Who do you trust? Who do you trust to take care of your stuff after you're gone? I mean, that's a tough one. Okay, you don't have if you live your life and you're a very friendly person. Even so, you only have so many close friends and people close to you that you trust, right? What I always said is when it's the middle of the night and you're in jail for whatever reason, they pick you up, they bring you home, and they don't ask you anything until the next day. So who's that person, okay? So you're going to make sure you got somebody you really trust when you come in to make a trust. I mean, the name is applicable for exactly what you're going to do.
I think God made us to be in community with one another,
yes.
And we have to have people that we trust. I've had a few clients over the years that didn't like anybody and nobody liked them back. And it was harder for them to solve complicated problems, especially upon disability. But this part of the definition of proper estate planning, again, is give what we have to whom we want, the way we want, and when we want. And so there's an option here, if you think about a married couple giving everything to who they decide after both of them are gone. If you have kids, then it would be the kids. If you don't have kids, then it might be other family members, nieces and nephews, or charities. But the first option is, are we going to put any stipulations on that?
Right.
So we call no stipulations, leaving it outright to the beneficiary, with stipulations that would be in a testamentary trust. Testamentary means after death, so it's a new trust that springs to life. And
wow.
So this is where I go back to whether my daughter's married to the jerk or whether my son's married to the witch. If I want to keep it in the bloodline, then if my daughter dies, God forbid, then her share would go to her kids if she has any. If my son died, God forbid, his share would go to his kids. And then that way the surviving spouse, their surviving spouse, if they're a former in-law, we call them an outlaw or an ex-law. I don't want to finance their new spouse and their new family because chances are they're not going to be paying attention to the bloodline anyway.
Right.
Or let's say that your kids married the perfect spouse. Your daughter married the son you never had, or your son married the daughter you never had. Well, you still might want to leave it to them in a trust to protect their inheritance from business setbacks, divorce,
right.
economic downturns, or frivolous litigation. So we didn't think that COVID was going to come. We've all experienced the flu before that, and we survived, the basic flu, and so we didn't know that there was another kind of flu that would be much worse for some people. Well, that caused economic downturn. So even if you think that your children are angels that spend their money in only the most appropriate ways, they're never in trouble with their debts, there could be something like an economic downturn. Well, even if they lose all of their own money, their inheritance could be protected from their creditors.
That makes sense. I mean, here in Texas, too, I think 401ks and all are very difficult if you're going Texas made some good laws when it comes to that. I know
Yeah.
I have some experiences on that. And, you know, I have a trust, so I know for my son, and I know it was important to us to have that for him, and how it was explained to me, you know, one, as you're saying, that they can't come in and just take it, okay? Because the state or the government, whichever one decides, a lot of times they're going to come in. They don't, you know, you can say it all you want. Government doesn't have a heart. Government is just government. So if you're looking for hearts and all, you know, that's why you stop by church, right? And you'll find yourself surrounded by that. But when you go to the government, if you're going to them for anything, it ain't going to work out the way you think. So this is pretty important.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. There are different kinds of trusts. And so we've been talking about almost the whole show about a living revocable trust and the different stages that it has and how it follows the definition of proper estate planning. But there are other kinds of trusts that could be set up for different purposes. If there's a personal injury settlement, or there's even other kinds for protecting assets from federal estate tax. This year, the federal estate tax exemption is very high. It's $13,600,000. If you leave less than that, then you don't have to pay federal estate tax. If you do have more than that, now's a good opportunity to set up a type of trust to take advantage of that high exemption, because the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that set the exemption that high is going to expire at the end of 2025, and then that exemption will be cut in half.
Okay, everybody raise their hand that's got more money than that they want to leave behind. You'll notice I'm not raising mine.
No, but some ranches in Texas have become very valuable. So even if somebody doesn't have a lot of money in the bank, they still could be over that line
overall
just
wealth,
because of the land that they might be using just for hunting or farming, or maybe they don't use it for anything. They just want to keep it in the family just in case. So at our office, we don't just haphazardly put documents together. We have a whole system and process, because I want to make sure that all of the boxes are checked and all of the questions are answered. So depends on the size of the estate and the complexities within somebody's family, but we could have as many as 4 different meetings. We can have a pre-consultation meeting. We can have an initial consultation meeting. We can have a design meeting, and then we can have the signing ceremony. And those 4 meetings are set up to help make sure that we know everything that our clients are worried about, and we know what all their goals and objectives are, and for them to learn estate planning.
So you really got to get to know them.
Right.
I mean, I imagine an initial meeting, you got to get to know them. I mean, that's pretty important, because sometimes through just natural conversation, you find out more about people, about what they're really thinking, and how they approach the world, their own culture. So that's going to be pretty important, those meetings. So like I said, you know, you got to get through the weeds, okay? And you got somebody here with a weed whacker that's going to explain it to you. And that's a good thing. Look, we did it with our family, and we're not, I can guarantee you now, you know, I've been in the trash business for 28 years. I've saved some money, but I'm not up around the $13 million range. But the fact is, you want to make sure that people are taken care of. And that is why there are so many meetings. It's not because he's trying to stretch you out. It's because he wants to make sure you understand exactly what you want, and he's going to design it to hopefully meet all those needs.
Yeah, we want to make sure that it's accomplishing your objectives, and we want to make sure that you understand what you're getting. And it helps to find an attorney that you like.
Right.
Because I've had some clients that said, I had an attorney before, but I didn't want to go back to him. Because you are going to have to divulge some private, personal
data,
confidential information. And at our office, we take that very seriously. So we might give you some homework questionnaires,
That makes sense.
checklists, just to make sure that we've covered everything that you might have concerns about. One of them's called the Estate Planning Deficiencies Checkup. And this is just something we hand out to you so that you can see what are some of the issues that we're looking for. And you get to decide, whether you have that problem or not. We also have another homework assignment that's all about your concerns and important family questions. One thing that we've been noticing a lot is people during COVID and after moved from somewhere else to Texas.
Right.
Texas is a great place to live. You moved from somewhere else to Texas. I moved from somewhere else to Texas.
Yep.
And so Texas has community property, but some of the other states, they just have what we call a common law property, which is really name on the title type property.
Right. Wow.
You're from Louisiana.
Yep.
And so that you have the Napoleonic
It's
Code.
still there. Still is. They're old. I remember the first time I bought some property, I had to go back and look it up, look at the history and all on it to make sure, it was all taken care of. I was kind of on my own. And it was still in French when you got a certain distance back.
Wow.
Yeah. So you had to have somebody come in and talk to. And they also, in the old days, used to be, I think they call it octanes, whether it was octanes or something like that, where the shape of the property was almost like an octagon. Okay. So the problem was, now that you've got these square shapes like acres, well, the corner might not be taken care of, all right, because it doesn't match up.
Right.
So you could build a property, and all of a sudden the corner of your house is in somebody else's property, and he looked it up, and now he's saying, hey, you can either move your house or you can pay me this much money for this corner. So that right there, when you get, and they're not going to change it. The Napoleonic Code's still going to be there. I mean, people like it because of the fact that, especially South Louisiana being so French, and the fact that the whole state is parishes instead of counties.
Right.
I mean, so you're talking about a very heavy Catholic influence and also, a very heavy French influence. And you'll notice from my accent at times. Yes. So when you come from a state like that to Texas, it's a little bit of a change.
Yeah, it might affect the way you and your spouse are going to divide things up upon death.
Right. And now with California, where they want to follow you for your taxes. When you go to another state and tax you, that's stunning right there. That's incredible that they're going to come after you when you leave the state.
Yeah, we'll have to see if the Supreme Court upholds something like that.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? But
well, I didn't get to talk too much about my legacy, but I might be able to say this fast enough. My purpose and mission for Talk Law Radio, number one, is to go and tell you about my faith and to be a light for how this lawyer lives his faith. Number two, to inspire you to pursue your dreams and create a legally enforceable legacy that can be passed down as an inheritance to your loved ones. And of course, to help you protect you from your hidden issue legal blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And to remind you of your constitutional rights to defend freedom, exercise liberty, strengthen the national economy, which brings prosperity to us all. Talk to you later.
See y'all.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.